When I'm far from you, I miss you. I yearn for you, and there's a fire. When I'm next to you, I don't feel it anymore. I want it back.
In a desert far away, in delirium I lay. I could hardly tell night from day. My lips parched, my belly emptier than it had ever been, and so I started to pray. It had been forever since I turned my eyes to my maker. I broke down and I cried. Suddenly a voice rang out through the air so loud and clear, in answer to my prayer. You had told me to follow your pillar of fire, fill my nights with light. And your clouds of glory, they took me to the heights that my heart so desired. I left the wilderness with my heart on fire, burning up to quench my thirst to see a light.
When I'm far from you, I miss you. I yearn for you, and there's a fire. When I'm next to you, I don't feel it anymore. I want it back.
In a desert far away, in delirium I lay. I could hardly tell night from day. My lips parched, my belly emptier than it had ever been, and so I started to pray. It had been forever since I turned my eyes to my maker. I broke down and I cried. Suddenly a voice rang out through the air so loud and clear, in answer to my prayer. You had told me to follow your pillar of fire, fill my nights with light.
Okay, we might have to use the computer audio for this time. For some reason, don't think it's picking up any other audio. I do not have time to figure this out right now. Okay, so until Ilya comes back, I guess let's just start talking about. First of all, let's pause the music over here. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's get this out of the frame and let's get started. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Pray Hard Play Hard YouTube channel and podcast. Welcome to Parshah, theBarber. We're live. We're just waiting for Ilya to get back. But what I want to just talk about some of the content we're going to talk about today. So, talking about Parshas BEHA'ALOSCHA, there's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about that has to do with the menorah. I mean, I think actually pretty much the entire show is about the menorah, and then some details about the menorah are going to take us into some other things. But it's only about the menorah. As far as the Parsha goes, it's only the menorah we're going to be talking about because there's a lot of really interesting material about that. So I just want to preface what I'm going to say is that there's a lot of what's going to happen here. I don't always come with conclusive things. A lot of it is just a discussion. So, and then there's my own personal beliefs and the opinions that I follow. But a lot of it has to do with the shape of the menorah, and like the title that you saw, if you saw it, the ark of Titus, right? And what the menorah there, what's going on there, is that really a valid representation of what the menorah actually looked like? So let me get out my trusty notebook. Once again, I have to stand up. Please forgive me. Okay, so let's start a little bit with something from the Rebbe. First of all, once again, thank you for everyone who's here. Please bear with. This is a very new thing we're doing. I went live a few times, but it was just in my living room, and I wasn't bringing a lot of sources. This is a very new software that I'm dealing with, so maybe for the next few weeks it's going to be a little rocky, but I promise you guys it's going to get better, and some of this stuff is really, really interesting. So let's talk about the BEHA'ALOSCHA. Name of the Parshah is BEHA'ALOSCHA because it talks about Aaron going up to the menorah. When you go up to the menorah, there's a lot of discussion and really beautiful things just about the word BEHA'ALOSCHA. Right? It's about going up, rising. Right? In general, mitzvahs is whenever in holiness we always go higher, we never go lower. But I just want to talk about something that is actually later on in the Parsha, that is from the Rebbe. So it says that you should it says that you should blow the trumpets. Hashem told Moshe when to blow the trumpets, how to blow the trumpets, and there's two different types of blowing the trumpets, right? It says when it comes to war, so it talks about the enemy, Hatzar Eschem. And the Rebbe says this is talking about the Yetzer Hara. And Bahari Eisem is a language of crying out. How do you do that? So how do you do that? You have to do that with bittul. You have to kind of nullify yourself, right? You cry. Who do you cry out to? Cry out to Hashem. You have to know that Hashem is in charge. And when you do that, when you cry out to Hashem with a submission to Hashem, so then you'll be saved. You'll be able to win win this Milchamas Yetzer, win the war against the Yetzer Hara. But then there's also an idea of then there's also a a blowing of the trumpets when it comes to the karbonos tzibur, when it comes to the karbonos, the offerings in the Beis Hamikdash. This is sacrifice with the karbonos that were brought in the Beis Hamikdash or the Mishkan, and that is when it was carbon of the entire congregation, when it was a communal offering. And then also there's an idea of blowing the trumpets. So the Rebbe is saying that also after winning this, winning the Milchamas Yetzer, winning the war against Yetzer Hara, the spiritual war, a person also still has to have the same bittul, that idea of submission. Shouldn't become arrogant. And how do you do that? How do you practice that submission? That's through davening, right? The karbonos is davening. The karbonos in the Beis Hamikdash, our davening represents the karbonos in the Beis Hamikdash, and the fact that it's done by the karbonos tzibur, by the sacrifices of the communal offerings, that shows the importance of davening with the minyan. Just something interesting from the Rebbe. And something else also interesting that we're talking about, the Parshah talks about the mun. This is before we get into the meat and potatoes. I'm just waiting for Ilya. But the Rebbe says that the mun was bread from the heavens. Right? It was bread from the heavens, lechem min hashamayim, and therefore there was no waste. Normally when a person eats food, there's waste. The person has to go to the bathroom. The body can't absorb everything. Some things are harmful and can, the body has to, in order for it not to harm the body has to excrete it. But the man was not that. The man was 100% good, and it didn't just fall for the tzaddikim, it also fell for the rishaim. Even people who were, quote unquote, wicked, they also, they were wicked. The Torah calls them wicked, but even they got the man. Even they got this heavenly food. And the Rebbe says that this is the man is a remez for Pnimius HaTorah, for Chassidus, for learning the deeper and more hidden, the inner teachings of Torah. Right? There's the Chitzonius and there's the Pnimius. And the Rebbe says that the man represents this, and it's a lesson. Just like everybody can have this, right? So certain things, it says if Torah is learned, let's say if a person is going to learn certain parts of Torah, most parts of Torah, with arrogance or improperly, I don't know what that was, or improperly. So what happens? The person, sorry, I got distracted with that. The person who's learning the Torah, it could actually cause harm. Because even though the Torah is holy and heavenly, but it can be problematic and it cause harm to someone who's not receiving it properly. However, because Pnimius HaTorah is considered like man, and man fell for the Rishayim, and there was no waste, there was no harm. So therefore, that shows that when anybody, even quote unquote nowadays, no one really is wicked, right? Everyone is in a status, if they're not doing the right things, they're tinik shenishva. But even people who are quote unquote wicked, they too can learn Pnimius HaTorah, and not only that, but it will have a positive effect on them, and it will actually bring them back to holiness. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes. Oh, this is very, very nice. The Bnei Yisachar says that Parshas BEHA'ALOSCHA is the 36th. Parshas BEHA'ALOSCHA is the 36th parsha in the Torah. If you count from Bereshis all the way to BEHA'ALOSCHA, it's number 36. And he brings it's very, very beautiful to see that it's for a lot of reasons that it's 36. Number one, in the Torah, the word Or, Menorah, and Ner is mentioned 36 times. It's counting all those words, and it's also some words. Let's say it would say ma'oros. If it says the word light in plural, it counts that as 2. So, but it adds up to 36. And also on Hanukkah, we light 36 candles, and the reason for that, the reason why is because it represents the hidden light of the Torah, which hidden light of the Torah. That's what Adam Harishon, right before the sin, he had. It provided light for him. This special light, which is more light than we, it's a special light. It's not a regular light. That was what Adam Harishon had for 36 hours. And the menorah, we're going to see actually how the menorah represents Torah, and that's why actually, because by Hanukkah, the Yidden were the Gzera was they wanted to abolish the Torah, so therefore the miracle happened with the menorah that represents the Torah. But so you see that it's not for nothing. It's a 36 Parshah in the Torah. Actually, the number 36 and light are synonymous. And the Torah and this Parshah speaks about starts with lighting the menorah. Now, here's another hint that the Torah is menorah, that the menorah is a hint, is a symbol for the Torah. Akedas Yitzchak says, it's a sefer, that the first pasuk of Bereshis has 7 letters. It has 7 words, right? Bereshis bara Elokeim es hashamayim ve'es haaretz, right? So, and that is that is corresponding to the 7 branches of the menorah, right? You had 6 coming out, and one in the middle. That's 7 branches. And now, if you look at Shmos, the first pasuk of Shmos has 11, and that is the number of the knobs. The knobs on the menorah were 7. Were 11. And in Vayikra, there's 9 psukim in the first, 9 words in the first pasuk, and that is corresponding to the flowers. And if you look in Bamidbar, there are 17, and that is the height of the menorah. The height of the menorah was 17 tefachim, 17 handbreadths, and a tiny bit more, but it was pretty much 17, and that symbolizes the height. And then lastly, in Sefer Devarim, the first pasuk has 22, and that is the number of all the cups, all the goblets that were on the menorah. So you see again a really beautiful correlation between the menorah and Torah. Okay, now I really want Ilya to come back. Okay. Okay, so let's talk. We're going to say something really nice about the Minchas Elazar. Also about his menorah. So the Minchas Elazar's grandmother, the wife of the Rebbe then, wife of the Munkatche Rebbe, and that was, I think, Reb Shloime of Munkatch. So his grandson was the Minchas Elazar, who was also one of the Munkatche Rebbes, and she asked that the precious gems from her kerchief. She had a very beautiful kerchief for Shabbos and Yom Tov that would cover her hair. So her head kerchief. She asked that it be put on his menorah. And he was, I think, 17 years old at the time when she asked. And it's very interesting that it's said that ner, the numerical value of the word ner, which is candle or light, is the same numerical value as tzif, as a head covering, as a head cloth, a head kerchief. And so it's synonymous with the mitzvah of lighting candles that women do. And that's why it says that, even let's say people who are not so careful always to cover their hair, most religious people, I mean, definitely in my neck of the woods, women cover their hair all the time pretty much. But even people who are not so careful, everyone's very careful to wear a head kerchief when they're lighting candles. And so it's very much part of the mitzvah of lighting the candles for Shabbos. And what she did there was she wanted, I guess, the stones to be there so that he should daven, and that his davening should be like a merit for her. Obviously, he was a very special and holy person. But also what happened there was that she actually accomplished that the two mitzvahs of lighting candles for Shabbos and the mitzvah of lighting Hanukkah candles, and it's actually spoken about by our Chachamim about it says something haragil the mitzvah the b'neda shel mitzvah. I think it says beautiful things about someone who's always lighting Shabbos candles, lighting candles of a mitzvah, which is Shabbos candles. Hey, we started but we didn't get into the meat yet. I'll just finish. Come, don't worry. So the Shabbos candles and the Hanukkah and Shabbos candles, right? So those two things she accomplished to blend those two mitzvahs together by doing that. All right, ready to do the intro?
Of course.
All right. So.
You don't want to eat first?
No. I'm gonna start eating afterwards because I had some pasta. But you can make everybody hungry on screen. No problem.
You want me to eat on screen?
I mean, I don't care. It's up to the people. I don't even know if those are working, but we'll see.
Okay.
No, I don't know what's going on with it. Put it on just in case, but I had to turn on the audio here.
So what are we up to?
We just finished talking about something about the menorah, but we're going to get into it. Let's see.
Oh man.
What happened? Oh, he gave you too much pizza?
No, just
Shout out, by the way, to Railroad Pizza. They just opened up a second location. One second. Let's get this on.
it's to die for.
Okay.
Okay. That was an exaggeration.
Oh, if you die, you can't enjoy it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But
Damn, it's good.
it's better than the other one.
Same.
Same thing. Yeah. Stop. Yeah, no. I have to wash everything. No. Yeah, I have to.
I already watched there.
I understand.
Pick a slice there. I didn't have no time for all that.
All right. Yeah. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's go. Okay. Welcome to the Play Art podcast. This is Yossi Lolayan.
And this is Ilya Snako.
Right, so what?
So good. Okay, I got it.
All right, intro in 1, 2, 3, let's go. Okay, and we're back. We are back. Okay, so we were talking about the menorah, and we just said a few things about the menorah, some things and then we also said some things from the Parshah from the Rebbe. There's still more to come. So before we get into the menorah we talk as a building up. How do you say? Hype for the channel. I put on the thing talking about the titus and the Vatican, right? The Ark of Titus and the menorah and that and stuff in the Vatican. But before before that, I want to talk about a few things. So the Abu Dirham brings down, and this is brought down in Kabbalah and many, many things. I'm sure you've seen this. Here, I'll show you actually, so you can see.
Because I'm Sephardic, you assume I've seen something.
It's because we're both Sephardic. But if you look here, so I'm showing this right now.
Oh wow!
Right. So over here, you've seen stuff like this, right? Where you have. So this is what you guys are looking at. These are the 60. I think it's Samach Zayin. Yeah, I think it's Kapitel Samach Zayin. Lamnatzeach ben Gonot Mishmashir Elokim Yechanenu V'Verchenu. Right. And that's basically done in the shape of a menorah, and it says that someone who says this while looking at the menorah, and if he sees it, there's many, many, many blessings that are brought down, and it's really, really incredible. If we have time, we'll read it, maybe little bit later. But
almost every Bukharian house you go to, they have that hung up in their living room.
Yeah, but it has a lot of Kabbalistic roots, and it's brought down. I just want to say some things that it says. For this parak of Tehillim is called the menorah Tehillim, like the menorah, the mizmor of the menorah. Why? Why is it called mizmor ha-menorah? It says that if somebody said this, it's as if he lit the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. When he says this, and we say it all the time. We say it before Baruch Sha'amar. We say it by Sfira Sa'emer, and we'll talk about why soon. And it's very interesting because you'll find, apart from the first pasuk, which is actually just an introduction, right? That's the introduction, and then the next 7 pasukim, that's the actual mizmor. There's 7 of them. That is because of the 7 branches of the menorah.
Right.
And then how many words are there in the entire thing? There are 49.
7 times 7.
49, right? And how many lights? 1 second. 49y. I think we light.
8.
Oh no! It's 49 when you count. This is why it's 49 when you count all of the things of the menorah. The goblets were 22.
Okay.
The flowers were 9, which now that's 31. The knobs were 11,
Okay.
so now that's 42. And then the actual lamps where you lit on the top of the branches are another 7. 42 plus 7 is 49. So the number of psukim and the number of words are a hint to the menorah. So therefore, when you say it's as if you lit the menorah, and that's why they have it in the shape of the menorah. And that's why, actually, by Sfira Sa'omer, we also say Lam Natzeach Ben Ginot. Why? Because there's 7 psukim, which is the 7 weeks, and there's 49 days, 49 words, like the 49 days of Sfira Sa'omer. That's why, incredible, right?
So you go through the cleansing.
Yeah, exactly. He said we're open. No, we're not.
Come on.
Okay. So that's just, I thought it was beautiful. And maybe at the end, I'm going to see how we're doing for time. I'll read some of this gulot that it says about this. Very, very beautiful stuff. I'm also, there's going to be some links that I'm going to put down in the bottom. Some of them, one of them I already put. Another one I'm going to put about some of the things we're going to talk about. I just wanted to mention that in case I forget to mention it later. Just so you can go and look some stuff up yourself. Very, very cool stuff. Not about this, but about the shape of the menorah, the shape of the lines. We'll get there. Okay.
Well, the shape of the menorah and all its description was so complicated. Moshe Rabbeinu basically told Hashem, I really don't know what to do about it. I think he told him, just take a whole glob of gold, throw it, and just take it out of the fire, and you will come out the shape that you want it to.
Yeah.
It came out the perfect shape. Later on, when the base of Beit HaMikdash was built, Shlomo HaMelech created 10 more. 10 more menorahs.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. He did 10 more menorahs, but that wasn't the menorah.
But you know why?
Why?
Basically, he made 10 more menorahs, and each menorah has 7 candles. So each one represented a different nation. At that time, there was 70 something nations, 70 nations. Or something.
Yeah.
So 70 nations, 70 languages.
Yeah.
Each represented different nations. So each one that he lit represented different nations. That's
yeah.
why Shlomo HaMelech created 10 more.
Right, 10 times 770. Wow, interesting. Wow, that's very interesting.
That is very interesting. So,
Okay.
in other words, at that time, all these nations would come to the Beit HaMikdash and give their sacrifices, so we could make sacrifices for them, so they would be blessed too. There was a reason why Shlomo HaMelech did it this way. He wanted to show the whole world that he's trying to unite the world. So therefore, each one that he lights, he's letting that nation know that we keep you in mind. We're praying for you too. The whole point of this was in our mission in the world as Jews is to unite the world and
To be a light to the world, yeah.
Right, to be the light of the world.
So this is literally lighting for the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are lighting it in this is
Or
a
like
representation, right?
Wow, that's very, very interesting. But yeah, I just want to say Shlomo.
Also explains why Shlomo HaMelech had the 1,000 concubines.
Well,
Well, not concubines, but there were there's a reason why he did that. He was trying to release gather together all these sparks.
the nitzutzos. Yeah,
Right.
he was trying to do birurim,
Mm-hmm.
but we know even the smartest man in the world made mistakes. How much more so everybody else?
But he wasn't smart. He was wise.
Whatever, the wisest. Yeah.
And the reason why I underline that
He's pretty
is
smart.
because there's a mizmor that we read on Shabbos. It says a reputation that is worth more than gold, even purest of gold. And it says that in the beginning, how does it start? It says Shlomo at his wisdom. Why does it say Shlomo Melech at his wisdom? Because in the last days of his life, he lost a lot of his wisdom. That was when he got kicked out of the palace, when he gave the Prince of Darkness his ring. He kicked him. He was gone for 7 years.
It's so funny you're mentioning a lot of stuff that I was going to talk about. Yeah, it's very, very.
Sorry.
No.
I ruined it for you.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not going to mention that whole story. I'm saying these stuff is going to come up. I'm not. Continue.
Yeah, so
There's
so he was gone for a while, and because of that, nobody could know who he was. It took him almost 7 years to get back into the palace, and people that saw him, they look at him, they're like, okay, he kind of resembles him, but
I thought he was crazy.
yeah. The only time they believed him is when he came to the Beit Din and they looked at him. They're like, he looks familiar, and he kept on telling them this and this is happening. This is not your real king. And then they only got suspicious when he made a passing on his mother.
Yeah, he called. He asked. He called. He asked a bunch of questions. I just read this. He basically, first of all, he wasn't being careful about the times when you're allowed to and not allowed to be, and then he tried also the mother, Shlomo Melech's mother, and they asked, does he ever take off his shoes?
Shoes, right.
And he always has socks on or something like that.
Always had boots on.
Yes,
He
something.
never
Yeah.
take off his boots. The only time he takes off his boots is when everybody leaves the room. So that was.
Yeah, and then he came to him with that with the ring, and the second he saw him, he ran
when
out.
he saw it, that's when he realized that the jig is up.
He
So he just disappeared.
Yeah.
From there on, Shlomo HaMelech never slept alone.
Shishim Gibarim Savav
Right.
Yeah, he had
So
60.
Right, it's 70, I think.
There's
No,
a 60.
yeah,
Shishim
yeah.
Gibarim. It says, yeah, he was from then on. He was scared because of.
60 armed men always surrounded his bed.
Yeah.
But it says armed men. It's not really soldiers.
It says
It was
Talmidei
Chachamim,
Chachamim.
right?
Yeah.
Talmidei Chachamim, right? Because if the bad spirit comes, they know how to fight him.
That's why there are people who say that. I mean, we say it by Kriya Shema Shalamita, Shema before bed. Right after we say those words, that pasuk 3 times.
As a matter of fact, cut it out afterwards.
No, I can't cut it. This is live.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I was gonna, it's a good thing you told me.
Yeah. What was he gonna say? Oh, we're so curious now. Okay, so.
Yesterday I had to go to a park, to Flushing Meadow Park, to bury some kameas. Kameas?
Really?
So I went to this Kabbalist and he told me all these kameas are no good. You need to make it your business to find it and find a public place where you could bury it. Make sure it's nobody's property. I had to go all the way to Flushing Meadow Park on my bike And you remember yesterday the air was bad because
Oh, you biked in that
I
air?
had to bike all the way there. Oh my God, my chest felt like I had something on my chest. It felt so heavy, I could barely breathe.
Oh man.
But I found a place, made a huge hole, put them in there, and covered it up. Because it has Hashem's name.
It has Hashem's name, but it was made in
right,
not purely.
it was made in an impure way.
Kameas are a lot of times, if they're not done right, they're
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I was told, and that's what I had to do.
okay. Yeah. Wow. Wow. By the way, okay. So back to this. The Marshal writes. This is about the shape of the menorah
Okay.
with the words Lam Natzeach Mginot. He says that David HaMelech had this mizmor in the shape of a menorah on his shield.
Oh,
And he
wow.
went to war with it, which is very interesting because now people say Magen David, right? The shield of David, right? In Hebrew, Star of David is Magen, the shield of David. That wasn't even on a shield. And originally, that seal, I looked this up yesterday. Nobody even really knows where it comes from. The Arabs call it, I mean, not just the Arabs, also Jews would call it, it was called for a while seal of Solomon, the seal of Shlomo HaMelech, which is what you're talking about. People speculate that maybe that's what was on his ring, and it really, I'm not here to talk about what the source is. I do believe that it originates with Judaism, because there's a lot of discussion, people saying where it came from. It seems pretty clear that it originates with Judaism, and then it was adopted because it signifies something very powerful kabbalistically. It's the seven spheros. If you look at if you look at the stars, there's 6 edges, right, spaces, and then there's one in the middle. That's 7, right?
Okay.
And the world is created with 10 spheros.
Uh-huh.
3 of them are the intellect, chachma, bina, das, and then there's the 7 emotions, right? So that's chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, hod, yesod, and malchus. So that's what it symbolizes kabbalistically, and you see that's why there's kabbalistic stuff. But it was also adopted by people in other religions, right? The Muslims, the seal of Solomon, and they go and they kind of make it like they had it first. But if you really, it just was hidden, and later on slowly became a symbol of Judaism to the point where even the enemies of the Jews used it, to identify Jews.
I
But,
heard a different version. I heard a different opinion. Basically, it represented.
But how cool is that David HaMelech had this on his shield,
Of course.
written in the shape of a menorah? Like it just shows the greatness of this, Like this was a skula to win in war,
Well, this is enlightenment. If you wear it on the shield, you enlighten the ones that you are fighting.
Oh, so you're saying it's not even a fight anymore. They're just
Yeah,
they put down their swords. Interesting. Sorry, what were you saying?
But how many wars we have won without lifting a sword? There were plenty of those. And the perfect example is
Sancheiriv, right?
Right.
Yeah.
another example
By the siege?
would
Okay.
be right. Another example would be Jonathan, when he won the the first battle that he won. They were outnumbered.
Who Yonatan was Shaul HaMelech's son?
Shaul HaMelech's son, right? He was his general.
I don't remember that
he
battle.
came closer and closer and closer and closer to the Philistines. He came closer and closer, and they were all just basically they were in a trance. So they made other Jews from other cities come and fight against the Jews. So half of their army, or should I say the front of their army, were their own Jews that didn't want to fight against their own fellow brothers.
Right.
So Jonathan, and I don't recall who he was with, but they came closer and closer and closer, and then they killed the general, the king, and then that's it. They won the battle.
Right.
So nobody had to spill blood except for Jonathan for winning that war altogether.
Wow. I don't remember that. I have to brush up on my Tanakh.
And then all the soldiers, the Philistine soldiers, which were our own brothers that were taken from other cities, they were forced to fight against us.
Uh-huh.
They said, "You're not fighting against our own brothers, especially if he just killed the biggest general." They turned around and started fighting them, and then the Philistines, though they were outnumbering the Jews, they all turned around and ran into the forest. And that's it. That was the first, and you could say almost the only great battle that we know about that Shaul HaMelech won. Shaul HaMelech, don't get me wrong, he fought back and kept all the enemies at bay. At that time,
Well, I
there were a
mean,
lot of
first of all, his first act of heroism before he was king was he grabbed the Luchas from Goliath
right.
and ran back. That was
Right.
what made him worthy of the
But that is
kingship.
the reason why he was afraid to face him, because he already faced him once. When he grabbed the Luchot and ran, he wrestled him. So he had to wrestle him, take it, and then run away.
Wow.
So at first he ran away. He looked in the camp and he's like, "Where's the Luchot?" He ran back, picked him up, and then Goliath wrestled him. He threw him off himself, took the Luchot, and ran back. So that means you imagine how many times twice he had to run back and forth.
Right, yeah. It was an incredible distance too, and it was Hashem helped him because it was heavy, right? The Luchas were very heavy. What were you saying? What were you saying about the you heard something else about the Magen David?
Basically, since we came out of Egypt, and Egypt is represented by pyramids and all of that, and as we know, all the impurities, I believe it said 12 impurities or 7 out of 12 impurities were in Egypt, in the land of Egypt.
Okay.
So the David HaMelech's sign, the Star of David, was the triangle is looking up. So his triangle is looking down, which means we're going to take down all the impurity in the world.
I've never heard that, and that's very interesting.
Yeah, I heard that version of it.
Well, first of all, let's look. A lot of these things, right? The stories grow around them, and there's a lot of, then myths that start to, come around these things. But this symbol came from somewhere, and it was used a lot with like people who were very into power and very into, it represents basically the creation of the world, all the powers with which the world exists, right? So it represents something very, very, first of all, holy and powerful. And what people, do is a lot of times they'll take something they just want, why do people learn Kabbalah and all these things? People who learn Kabbalah and they weren't on the right level, they use it for their own good because it is very powerful, but then it became unholy. So that's why I say, like, from what I've looked up, it looks like it definitely, is a holy thing. But again, it's just a symbol, right? And actually, that's one of the things I believe that I'm going to link down here, a short thing. At the end, it's on Chabad.org, and it says basically like it's just a symbol, right? You could wear all the symbols in the world. If you don't do action, it doesn't matter. So we have to keep the mitzvahs. We have to do the things that make the world run. We have to bring the light into this world.
100%, of course.
So wear your Star of David, but do the right things too. Now, here's where I want to talk about the menorah that we first of all, the idea of the menorah being there's questions.
The device is connected.
Na 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 na.
That just went on.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All good.
Powering.
It's
Baruch Hashem, everyone loves music, right?
uh-huh.
So the menorah, the menorah, there's different opinions whether it was rounded, if it was rounded branches, or if it was straight.
Uh-huh.
And you have different people bring different reasons why, and you have maybe Rashi has one opinion, and the Rambam had a drawing on his Parshah in the Mishnah, and there's a lot of back and forth, and people till today are still arguing. The Rebbe was very, very, very strong in his opinion that it was straight. They were 100 straight going upward. And he says, and there's a different, first of all, the Rambam, there's a drawing, and if there's any doubt of whether the drawing was just a rough sketch and it didn't really mean it, his son, Rebbe Avram, wrote down that he wrote clearly that the menorah is shaped, the branches are shaped like my father drew it, right? Like father drew it, which is in a straight line. So the opinion of the Rambam is that it was a straight line. And I'm going to also link an article to that so you can read it. It's very enlightening. There's some comments there that are also interesting. I commented today. I was looking at it, and but the basically people like to draw proof from different sources of what it was. You see in even the what we looked before, the Lam Natseach, that it was rounded. But that doesn't. But there were other menorahs, like you said, Shlomo Melech made menorahs. That doesn't mean that the menorah that was actually in the Mishkan was also rounded. That one, just because some menorahs were made round, doesn't mean that the one in the Beis Hamikdash was round. That one, it seems that, especially according to the.
Well, in the first Beit HaMikdash, Shlomo Melech made exact copies of Moshe's.
Well, that's not necessary. Is that a fact? I don't know. The Rebbe brings down that it might have not been. But even if so, it's not. The Rebbe. I don't think the Rebbe brought down that is for sure what. Well, there's context. Basically, we're going to talk about the menorah on the Ark of Titus. We're going to bring that up right now. But the Rebbe just brought that as a possibility. But basically, we're going to see why anybody who brings a proof from the Ark of Titus is definitely wrong. For two very strong reasons. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that down. In Chabad, it's very, very strongly accepted that the menorah was straight lines.
Okay.
Now, the Rebbe brings in the Sikha, he brings this whole thing about the Titus, about the Ark of Titus, and we're going to just show some illustrations over here. So here you have if you want to see also. This is the Ark of Titus.
Okay.
And on it you'll see that there is a picture right here. You see that's the menorah. So, and I'm just it's first of all it's rounded, but if you look closely, number one, if you look let's look out for a second. The menorah had 3 legs coming out. It wasn't a flat base. There was a flat base and there was legs coming out. This doesn't show the legs.
Okay.
That's number one. Right? And then also like all the characteristics, like it doesn't show all the different knobs and flowers and whatever it is. And then here's the kicker. If you look here, you see there's sea dragons.
Okay.
On the menorah. That was definitely not on the menorah because this is a symbol of Avodah Zarah.
Of course.
So therefore, this at best, even if let's say this drawing was somebody taking a drawing and they took the actual menorah of the Beis Hamikdash,
Okay.
even if that is the case, that this is obviously in the best case scenario, meaning that this is depicting the actual menorah, it's just an artistic expression.
Yeah.
Because number one, there's no legs, and especially because there was no. There's Avodah Zarah etched into it.
This was actually made after the destruction of the Egyptians.
Right, but this was Titus's way of showing he had won, and him being arrogant about the fact that he had taken the Jewish, the Jewish temple's, most beautiful
he
things.
Went into the house of David and desecrated.
Yeah.
The whole world.
Yeah, there's actually in a different parashah.
Yeah.
Next time we get to Toldos, there's actually something crazy that the Gemara brings that every 71 or 72 years. They actually would do a parade and they would, say like, oh, Esav won Yaakov. Like, anyways, we'll go into detail about.
Really?
Yeah, in Rome there was a whole tradition of what they would do. It's really like they're showing that they won, their prowess. But anyway, it's off track. Basically, so that's in the best case scenario what it was. But also, it's the Rebbe says that people made menorahs like the menorahs in the Beis Hamikdash because it was beautiful, and even it's possible that people who worshipped idols, they also made menorahs for their gods, and which seemed very similar to the ones of the Beis Hamikdash, and that's why this would have Avodah Zarah etched, right? Sea dragons etched onto the menorah itself. So that's just a very interesting, thing that the Rebbe brings, and it explains why the Ark of Titus at all is definitely not a real, true representation of anything in the Beis Hamikdash. And now that we're here and we're talking about the stuff in Rome, I just want to talk about different things that it says about that, are in the Vatican right now. They're not going to admit it, but they have the things that belong to the Jewish people there for millennia now. And
they said it's a proven fact that when the Romans came and they emptied everything out of the Beit HaMikdash,
Mhm.
there was so much gold that the price of gold around the world was slashed to half.
Wow.
That's how much gold was taken out of the Beit HaMikdash.
That's incredible.
That's a lot of gold. For
You're saying-
the
you're saying-
price of gold to go down
Yeah.
all across the globe.
It became less rare.
50%, right? That means they had so much gold. But my question is not this. My question is, you keep on accumulating and accumulating and accumulating and accumulating and accumulating. What's the point? For what? You understand where I'm coming from? What is this accumulated for?
Let me ask you a question. If I tell you,
Now,
if somebody gives you,
a halacha
Say-
that says
if somebody gives you-
a king is not supposed to accumulate a lot of gold.
a king specifically, but let me ask you this: if somebody gives you $1 million, and they say, "Do you want $2 million? You want another $1 million?"
Say no, of course.
Exactly. There's a rule. Mishesh limon it's a Messiah. Whoever has one portion wants.
Get it.
Another.
I get it. It's never
So
enough.
that's it. That's our
But
nature.
once I reach $100 million, you offer me another $1 million. I tell you, bro, are you joking? Like, what am I gonna do with it? I only have one lifetime to live it up. What am I gonna do?
There's no limit to what you can spend money on, and it doesn't matter. It's just the idea of at that point you're just trying to be better than the next person. That's the nature of
So it
people.
becomes more of a competition than a necessity, or at
Well,
all.
I mean, at that level, sure. You think the second biggest billionaire isn't thinking, "I want to be the top billionaire"? The second richest man in the world is like, "I'm only second best."
Well,
He wants the best, the next guy.
I can't relate. I don't think about these things, you know.
I'm just saying, like, it's just how it's human nature.
I get
you know?
it. I get it. Yeah.
Now, so here we're going to talk about, first of all, the author of the Sefer that I draw a big amount of the content for the Parshah show is from the Sefer Eitzer Plois HaTorah by Rav Zev Wolf Zicherman. I actually sent him an email today, or a fax, I think. I sent him a fax asking him if I could use some of his content and translate it on the screen, but he didn't answer me yet, so maybe for whenever it becomes relevant. But
You just mentioned his name, which means he gets the mitzvah. I don't see any person who's doing this genuinely for the sake of Torah that would have a problem with posting something like that.
No. But again, definitely when you're taking pictures, if this is his livelihood, right? If he made a sefer, you have to at least get permission, because he makes money off the sales of the book.
Oh, you're talking about the book,
Yeah. But
right, because of the time and
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and translating it could be a whole other. I wanted to make sure
Still,
I'm in the
there's an
clear.
expense that comes with
Yeah.
it. I get it.
This is the front of the sefer. It says you're right. This you have to ask permission. So it's, so he says he actually visited. He got a heter because it's not so simple to go visit the Ark of Titus. It's actually a place that shows the downfall of the Jewish people. But he got a heter to go, and
Oh, I heard about him. Yeah. His face was glowing when he was there. That's pretty.
I don't know.
No?
I have no clue.
Oh, okay.
He's alive today. I'm saying
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure.
I heard a story. I think Mizraki was talking about it. How there was one person that somebody owed him a big favor or something like that in the Vatican, and he said, "That's what I want. I want to go and see the
Interesting. He writes. I don't know if this is him, but he writes that one of the guards there, like he really liked him. Like he found, like he says matzah sichein de'enav, like
he saved his daughter or something like that. Something happened.
Oh
like,
no!
where he owed him
I'm gonna
big
say that
time.
story. That's not from today. This is
that's
from the
not-
Gemara.
okay,
We're gonna
okay.
mention that.
I
Yeah.
remember
That was back in the times of the Gemara. Yeah, you're gonna see. Yeah, it's a very nice story.
No, I'm talking about modern time.
Well, you're talking about saving the daughters of Shimon Bar Yochai. Time we missed it. We're gonna talk about it.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, whatever. It could be two different things. But so he said that he got to go in there. One of the guards, let him in, and he saw a statue of Titus. He was able to see a bunch of stuff in there, but he saw a statue of Titus, who was this, conqueror and who was the one who took down, obviously Hashem allowed him to do it, he says that the statue of him is 1.5 feet. The guy was a midget,
Oh.
or I don't know, or a cubit and a half. He was like very short. He was like let's just say less than 3 feet, right? Which means and it's very interesting. You see people conquerors. Napoleon was also very short. How can you this person who was Roman?
He was not so short. Everybody says he was short.
He was a shorty.
Like 5'5".
Well, first of all, it's still pretty short. I'm 5'6". I mean,
If you're a general of a huge
that's what I'm
army,
saying.
that's a different
Okay,
story.
but this guy was really short. Anyway, he just mentions
Okay.
it's very interesting that this was so short. But now we're just going to talk about different things. This is what you were talking about. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi, there's a lot of different places that mention what he saw there. One place it says that he saw the Poriches, that was the curtain that separated between the Kodesh and the Kodesh Kodashim. And he said that he actually saw blood on it, and the blood was from, because the Kohen Gadol would go in and spray the blood. He would, achas v'yah, achas, you say on Yom Kippur. So that was from that.
The miracle of that is the fact that the whole curtain was drenched in blood, but it never smelled. Never any flies.
Right.
Never
Well, in the whole base of Mikdash there weren't flies,
Of
even though they
course.
said they were ankle deep in
Correct.
blood, right?
They also said that the birds never pooped while they were flying around Beit HaMikdash.
There were like 10 big. In
Right.
Pirkei Avos it mentions the
As a matter
miracles.
of fact, there's a awesome little fact. You go to the Western Wall nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
there should be a lot of bird poop all over the place. Good luck finding it.
That's very interesting.
Good luck finding. From now on, you'll pay attention.
I will.
You will never find bird poop anywhere around that whole area, that open area.
Yeah.
Though there are birds all over the place. If you think about it, it should be full of bird poop, like the Vatican. The whole Vatican City is full of bird poop.
Oh,
Just so you
man.
know.
Yeah.
Just to show you, there's absolutely nothing holy in that place.
That's very, very interesting. That's very, very interesting. I'm going to pay attention. Okay. So it says that he saw. Now, how did he see this? This is the story that you're mentioning. I just want to say a few of the things that it says he mentioned there. It says in Esther Rabbah, it says that he saw broken pieces from the throne of Shlomo HaMelech.
Wow.
Yeah, and also it says that he saw the tzitz. He saw the gold plate that went on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol. But how did he get to see these things? So the story goes like this: They made a decree. They made a decree against the Jewish people 3 things. That they should work on Shabbos. They wanted to abolish Shabbos. They wanted to abolish Bris Milah, and they wanted people to stop keeping family purity. So they should be with their wives even when it's not the right time.
So they limited all the mikvahs in the city.
They did it. They
Or
made
they
these
tried.
decrees. So now, I forget the name of the rabbi who went first. There was one rabbi who went first, and he went undercover. He gave himself a haircut. It says like he shaved his hair and he left his hair long. Almost it sounds like a mullet, but except without the hair. I don't know. He basically made his hair like the hair of the people who served, of the idol worshippers then. And he went and kind of sat amongst the goyim. He went, he somehow got in there, and he said to the people in charge, to the place where they would make the rules. And he said, "Tell me, if you have an enemy, you want them to become rich or you want them to become poor?" He said, "You want an enemy to lose his money. You want him to be poor." So he says, "So then, you don't like the Jews. So don't give them a day to work extra that they'll make more money. Let them not work and they'll make less money." It's like, good idea, right? And then he said, "Now, if you have an enemy, do you want them to be strong or weak?" He says, "Weak." So he says, "So then why do you want them to not get a bris milah?" I guess they believed then that taking on bris milah. So he said, "Let them give the bris milah, and they're going to be weaker."
Hold on, you went to the Israeli army, no?
No, it was never there.
You never went? So I heard something really, really bizarre.
What was that? After, yeah. I'll remind you. Okay. He says, "Want to be weaker, right?"
Okay.
So therefore, let them have a bris milah. So I said, "Oh yeah, good idea." And then he said, "Okay, now do you want your enemies to be more or less? You want less of them?" So he says, "Less." They said, "Less." So he says, "Okay, so then why are you making them be with their wives more? Let them only be with their wives 10 times a month." Fine. So but then they realized he was a Jew, and so they didn't nullify it and they kept the thing. So now they have to figure out who's going to go. So basically, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and Reb Elazar Bar Yossi, it's the whole story how they chose them to go, and a very interesting story of what happened on the way, but they went. And there's a demon. I'm not even going to say the name. I don't like saying demons' names ever, but it was given a certain name. And guys, if you check one of the stories, one of the more recent stories that I posted, it also mentions this story because it's a story within a story. Anyway, you can go check that out. It's an interesting story of the Baal Shem Tov. But so they go to the king, and on the way already there was a demon that went into the body of the king's daughter.
Oh, wow.
This is what you mentioned, right? The king's daughter. And every single hour she was saying, "Bring me Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Bring me Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai." Every hour she'd say, every. And then they come, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai tells this demon, calls him by name, says, "Go out." I'm saying it very short, yeah. And he goes out, and the daughter becomes better. So now
The king owes
Now the king says, "Go into my treasury and take whatever you want." So he went, found the document. I wonder how long it took him to find it. They went inside, took the document, and they tore it up. The decree was done, and that's basically how they nullified that gzera. But so in that time, Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi was able to go and he witnessed, he saw different things from the Beis Hamikdash in the treasury. So that's why we see that this is what happened. What am I saying? Sometimes I just space out. This is how Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi was able to see all these things, because he went into the treasury at that time. So anyway, I please check out the links. There's one I still have to add, but this is pretty much what I have on script. I'm just going to have a little bit of a discussion. I also want to just mention before we're done, if you're watching, if you're hearing this, you're watching. I meant if you're watching live, but also if after. Please consider, first of all, subscribe. Please, if you're not already, please like. It really helps, and please consider supporting the channel by clicking the link for Patreon. It takes a lot of time to do this, and we take time out every week. It takes effort, and in order to be able to continue doing this, I need your guys' help. So please support in whichever way you can. If it's just a like and a subscribe and a share, do that. And if it's also more, then we won't say no. So, but anyway, this is we just want to wrap up. What were you going to say? You were going to say about Bris Milah. What were you going to say? The Israeli army.
I don't know how much of that is true, but I heard that on an application, like you're 100% person, right?
Yeah.
A person that is circumcised is not considered 100%. They're considered 98%.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's below.
How insane is that, though?
I don't know why they decided to go off that metric. You have to also understand it wasn't built. This country wasn't built by religious people. It was built by secular people. So,
but it's Israel.
Okay, but you understand Israel. Unfortunately, why do you think there's such a fight for?
We had a 6-day war for a reason. Didn't we reclaim the land? Are we not supposed to have a Beit HaMikdash of our own?
Okay, so this is a good question.
Sorry, not Beit HaMikdash, Beit Din of our own that makes his own.
So Baruch Hashem, the Beis Din, still has influence and power when it comes to certain things. Thank God, when it comes to marriage. When it comes to marriage, all these things, it's very important. But listen, it was founded by people who were not religious, and not only that, some of them were anti-religious, unfortunately. So it's not a surprise. But and Baruch Hashem, they largely lost. Baruch Hashem, Eretz Yisrael is a place where where people are serving God in the most beautiful way. But the strongest communities and it's a dream to go to Eretz Yisrael. But anyway, also if you're missing a tooth, that I don't know, it's also it's like it's not, it doesn't even mean anything. If let's say I have I'm just imagine like I got some of my skin cut off from my elbow, which doesn't matter, it's just, or I don't know, let's say your appendix is removed, it's probably also not now like a certain percentage, even though
100%.
Yeah, although I think the appendix, they say that they some people say they know what it's for. I don't know. Some say they don't know what the use is. I don't know. Anyway, but the point is, if you're missing some tooth that whatever, also it's a percentage. It doesn't really mean much.
I remember. You were talking about Shlomo Melech having a ring.
So he had a ring, and then he had also the seal that had Hashem's name on it, the lock, the chain.
Right. The chain. So the ring, I wanted to mention that the ring, Shlomo Melech wore a silver ring. For any king to wear a silver ring is beneath him. But there's a reason why he wore that ring. On the inside of the ring, it was inscribed, "This too shall pass." because as a king, he deals with all types of problems, and sometimes you could really, because as a king, he was part of the Beit Din, so he would judge people every single day, and of course, there are times when you can't finish a case that same day, so a lot of things are going on, and a lot are on your mind.
Gamze Avor,
At
right?
night, he would look at it and he would remind himself that everything in this world is temporary.
Wow.
So this too shall pass.
Wow. Well, it's a very special lesson.
And the reason why silver is to humble him, to remind him, though he's a king, he's still a person and still a Jew.
Wow. It's funny. I had a friend that mentioned those words to me, Gamze Avor. I have a friend, Baruch Hashem, we're not so much in touch now, but in Yeshiva he told me this. He was saying that it's like a very, it's a word that when you're happy, it's their words, when you're happy, it makes you sad, and when you're sad, it makes you happy. He gave me a riddle. He said, what words, when you think of them, it makes you happy, when you're happy, it makes you sad, and when you're sad, it makes you happy. And it's these words. This too shall pass. If you're having something beautiful in your life and you know it's going to pass, it makes you sad. If there's something really, really hard in your life that's happening, you know it's going to pass, it makes you happy. So it's just I didn't know it originated from Solomon Melech. It's very beautiful.
Yes.
Anyway, guys, we're wrapping up. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for watching. Well, I hope you find this informative and
Entertaining.
that's right.
And
Please subscribe. Share with others.
it's free.
That's right.
Liking
It
is free
definitely
too.
is for free. Hopefully we'll see you next time.